Even in Dagestan, when he's fighting, the people goes to sleep and they watch his fight in the morning.
Is there any headway on Islam Makhachev and Jack Della Maddalena if that title fight's going to get booked soon?
I'll let you know.
Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria are at it again, throwing jabs, this time not in the octagon, but online. Meanwhile, Conor McGregor is finally hinting at a real comeback. Max Holloway might be out with an injury, and Khabib? Well, he may have just leaked something the UFC didn't want out yet. And guess what? Daniel Cormier is calling out Michael Bisping over Ilia Topuria's recent comments. It's all heating up from every direction. Let's catch up. Everyone's been talking about a potential fight between Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria, but Islam, he's got other plans. Khabib Nurmagomedov spilled the beans at a fan event in New York. According to him, Islam's next fight won't be with Topuria at all. It'll be against Jack Della Maddalena, and it's already set. Madison Square Garden later this year.
Думаешь по поводу того, что тебя сместили внезапно с первой строчки паунд по паунд?
Ну это маркетинг. Они делают это специально, чтобы разогреть этот бой. Ну, у людей уже есть интерес к этому. Значит, они делают правильно, и мы будем бороться за первое место.
So, what Khabib revealed just confirmed what Islam has been hinting at for weeks. After defending his lightweight title multiple times, Islam made it known he's moving up to welterweight, he's done with lightweight, he even gave up the belt, said he was 90% sure his next fight would be in November, and Jack Della Maddalena, he's down for it, already holding the welterweight belt and said loud and clear, come get it! He's ready to defend that title by the end of the year. Now Khabib's leak confirmed it all. Opponent, venue, timeline. It's happening.
What's this video, man? How to beat Ilia Topuro. Let me see, brother.
How do you think you would beat Ilia Topuro? Well, grab him with the scruff of the chest and slap that little nose off him, yeah? Little ding-dong of a thing he is, yeah? I'm fucking Spanish. I'm in Marbella, bro, yeah? I'm in Marbella at the bare knuckle stall and let's see what's what. We're bouncing the yoke of a...
Jack even said Islam deserves this shot, even if it means skipping the other welterweight contenders. Why? Because he wants revenge. He's close friends with Alexander Volkanovski, and he's still sore about Islam beating Volk twice. For Islam, though, this isn't about a belt. This is about being number one. In his eyes, he's still the top pound-for-pound fighter in the UFC. He doesn't agree with the rankings putting Topuria at number one. To him, it's not about skill anymore. It's about popularity and UFC promotion, and he's not okay with that.
More interesting topic than all that, before we get into the next one, is the Islam fight. You know, Dana said recently, if Islam beats the ADM, you have that super fight. Is that at welterweight or is that at lightweight? Because I think if it's at lightweight, you're going to run into the same Max Ilia problem where Islam's going to regret going up to 170, then coming back down to 155. Now that Ilia's got his footing, Ilia's only going to get better at 155. You want to be one of the first guys to fight him. You don't want to be the fourth, fifth guy where he's really, you know, Dustin, Charles, all these guys said they didn't.
There hasn't been an official UFC announcement yet, but everything points to UFC 322 in November. Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena as the main event. Madison Square Garden makes sense. The UFC books it every November for a major card. Islam's never fought there. Jack's never headlined in the US. It lines up perfectly. No other major main events are locked for that date. And both fighters, healthy, available. Meanwhile, Max Holloway's dealing with an injury. Not announced by Max himself, but UFC President Dana White confirmed it indirectly.
His nails, he lived up to his nickname, the Diamond, and talking about him being strong like a diamond, I mean, my right hand still hurts. Big ass head, you know what I mean? As I told him after the fight, you know, but I see a lot of people talking about who's next, who's this. There's a lot of fun fights, like I said, for me at 55. Like I said, there's Oliveira. I mean, if Justin gets the next title shot, that would be cool. If I get the next title shot, I'd be sick. But if you have hopes of me fighting before...
During a press talk, Dana mentioned Max was banged up. That's all he said. But it was enough to hint that Max won't be stepping into the cage anytime soon. This is a big deal. Holloway had just scored a wild knockout win over Justin Gaethje and won the BMF belt at UFC 300. Everyone thought he'd be next in line to fight Topuria for the featherweight title. Topuria, remember, took the belt from Volkanovski earlier this year. The hype for a Topuria versus Holloway title fight. Huge. But Dana's comment makes it look like it might not happen when the UFC wants it to.
I'd be sick, but if you have hopes of me fighting before the end of the year, probably not gonna happen. I see a specialist sometime this week, and I already met with my doctor. Now I gotta go meet the specialist, but things are not looking too up of me fighting one more time this year. So all that fight talk, I guess, is on stilts. So we just get to see how the 55 is gonna plan out. I get to enjoy, be a fan.
Fans are frustrated. Ilia Topuria wants to fight again before the year ends. Holloway was the most exciting, most worthy opponent, but with Max possibly out, the UFC might have to look elsewhere. Maybe Movsar Evloev, maybe Brian Ortega, maybe Volk again. But let's be honest, none of those matchups have the same fire as Topuria versus Holloway. Max hasn't said anything about his injury. He's still posting on social media. He looks fine, no signs of anything serious. So what's really going on?
This is Poirier's shotgun. He does a really good job of killing people with this thing, okay? And then a lot of the time he'll go hook after, and that sucks, okay? Max did a really awesome job of any time Poirier would throw this, Max would throw this type of kick, but it would almost be back, like he was like, almost like switching back, but he would rocket this kick and come back to his stance. A lot of what we can do in martial arts, especially when we have kicks involved, is not only can I...
That's what's got people guessing. Maybe the injury isn't that serious. Maybe the UFC is just being careful. Maybe they're waiting to see how quickly he heals. What's frustrating is that Holloway wanted this fight. After UFC 300, he even joked about fighting Topuria in Spain. That would have been electric. Tap into the regional pride, sell out a stadium. It had all the makings of a classic. Topuria seemed open to it, but made it clear. He fights on his terms, not anyone else's. Now, with Dana's latest words, it looks like this dream fight might not happen at all. At least not soon.
Sorry, Max, just one more.
Yeah,
I know you had good praise for Ilia there. Dana was in here. He said you are still the BMF champion, but Ilya's strutting around backstage with the UFC belt on one shoulder and his BMF one on the other. Just your thought on that.
I mean, it is what it is. It is. It wasn't, could you imagine Islam walking around with 2 belts after knocking out Volk? Let that sink in, you know? The belt was in a different way.
Injuries are normal in MMA, but this one came at the worst time. Holloway finally had momentum again, not just as a fighter, but as a fan favorite. His BMF win got everyone talking. If he's out too long, that heat might die down. And in this sport, that matters. New contenders pop up fast. The spotlight moves quickly. So for now, what's clear is Holloway won't be back as soon as fans hoped, and while all that's happening, Islam and Topuria, they just went head-to-head on Instagram Live. Makhachev called Topuria a showman, said he's not a real fighter. Their exchange, short but full of tension. It didn't come out of nowhere. Both of them had been throwing shade for days before that, questioning each other's rise, the rankings, even the UFC's matchmaking.
Ilia the only fighter to beat Islam. I don't see Islam losing again. I think if it's not Ilia, it's nobody. Yeah, Ilia can beat Makhachev, and I think JDM also beats him. That's my take. I think JDM also whoops Makhachev like a bitch.
Khabib recently said that he wanted you to face Charles before fighting Islam. He believes you beat Charles. What did you make of Khabib's comments, and why do you think he wanted you to fight Charles before fighting Islam?
Honestly, I don't care what he wants.
Question for Ilia Topuria. The former UFC lightweight champion Islam Makhachev was critical of you this week. He went on an interview and he
We don't give a fuck about him, so save that question.
Islam didn't hold back about the pound-for-pound list either. He said the UFC rankings don't mean what they used to. It's not about beating the best anymore. It's about getting views, going viral, and who the UFC wants to push. And to him, Topuria, just a showman, not someone who's proven himself against real killers. Topuria fired right back. He said Islam is just mad because no one's talking about him anymore. His time is over. I'm the face now. People want to see me. He didn't stop there. Topuria said Islam's never fought someone like him. Fast, sharp, powerful, and agile. If we fought, he said I'd make him look slow, outdated. What makes this back and forth more than just trash talk is timing. Islam wants that welterweight belt. He's basically cleaned out lightweight. Moving up was always part of the plan, but here's the problem. There's no clear opponent set in stone yet. That's why the talk of a super fight with Topuria keeps coming back. He just took the featherweight belt from Volk, and the buzz around him is huge. Islam said it himself. He'd fight Topuria, but only for one thing. Pound for pound #1. Not for belts, not for names, only #1, he said. What really bothers Islam isn't Topuria's skills. It's how fast he got the spotlight, how he leapfrogged the rankings, not by grinding it out, but through hype hype and marketing, Topuria. He's using every tool to promote himself, and it's working. Meanwhile, Conor McGregor is finally back on the radar. And this time, it's official. The Irishman submitted a sample to the UFC's anti-doping program. That starts the clock on his 6-month testing window. For the first time in a long time, McGregor is actually doing the one thing that matters, entering the USADA database and making himself eligible to return. The update was quiet, no big press release, just a line in the official testing logs. McGregor submitted a sample in the third quarter of 2025, his first all year. Now that USADA is out, the UFC's drug testing is run by a different agency, but the rule still stands. Fighters coming back need 6 months of clean testing before they can fight. Unless the UFC decides to skip the wait. They've done it before. And last time, it sparked major backlash when Conor was about to fight Chandler without testing. Now that he's finally submitted his first test, if the UFC sticks to the standard rules, the earliest Conor could fight is January 2026. Seems far away, right? But for the UFC, perfect. Q1 and Q2 are when they plan huge events. Imagine UFC 310 or UFC 311 headlined by McGregor. It would be massive. Michael Chandler, he posted a mysterious tweet with emojis after the update dropped. It was his way of saying, "I've seen it, I'm still in." Chandler has waited for nearly 2 years. He said it before. He'll wait as long as it takes to fight McGregor. Some fighters aren't so patient. Guys like Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier have publicly questioned if the UFC will really make Conor wait 6 months or just bend the rules again. What's crazy is how quiet Conor has been about all this. No dramatic posts, no video rants, nothing flashy. That's not like him. Maybe that means something's different this time. After years of teasing returns, cancelled fights, and off-cage drama, submitting this sample is the first real step. It's the closest thing fans have had to actual hope in a long time. Meanwhile, another clash is brewing. Daniel Cormier is not happy with Michael Bisping. Why? Because Bisping criticized Ilia Topuria for wanting to fight Paddy Pimblett instead of Arman Tsarukyan, the top-ranked contender. But Cormier? He called out Bisping for being a hypocrite. Let's rewind. Topuria recently won the UFC lightweight belt with a brutal knockout of Charles Oliveira at UFC 317. Right after, he and Paddy Pimblett had a heated face-off inside the octagon. Fans went crazy. It looked like the UFC was setting up a blockbuster fight. But Arman Tsarukyan just beat Beneil Dariush, and by ranking, he should be next. Topuria doesn't care. He's chasing the big money fights. And in today's UFC, that's how things work. Bisping slammed him on his podcast, said champions should defend against the best, not just chase paydays. Paul Felder agreed. Cormier didn't stay silent. On his YouTube channel, he reminded Bisping of his own choices as champion. He skipped over top contender Yoel Romero to fight Dan Henderson, a fight that was all about personal redemption. Then later, he took a super fight with GSP, not the next man in line. Cormier didn't argue that Arman doesn't deserve the shot. He just said, "Let's be real, this is the fight game, and money talks." "Mike, you did the same thing," Cormier said. "You chose GSP over Yoel because it was a bigger opportunity. Topuria's doing the same with Paddy." And that face-off between Topuria and Pimblett, it burned itself into fans' memories. It's the fight people want now. That's hard to undo. Cormier gets it. He knows Tsarukyan's ready. He's earned it. But he also knows what sells. Pimblett is undefeated in the UFC. He's a traffic magnet online. His fan base is wild. Topuria versus Pimblett at Madison Square Garden, it would explode. Cormier said it clearly. While Tsarukyan probably should be next, you can't fault Topuria for thinking about business. When you're champion, you have to balance risk and reward. And that's exactly what Topuria is doing, just like Bisping did in 2017 when he fought GSP. Cormier connected the dots and made it clear, this isn't about ducking, it's about legacy, money, and timing.